And hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I am your host, Uncivil Law, and we are with our continuing coverage of the Alex Murdaugh trial, where we are expecting opening arguments to begin when the court resumes in just a few moments. In the last 2 days, we have seen jury selection, which went very quickly. We had about 320 jurors brought in person. From my understanding, there were about 900 voir dire sent out into the world. So of the 900, we then did some sort of selection to get to 320. Then we eliminated all the jurors who were legally disqualified by statute. That brought us to about 121. And then somehow we got to a jury of 18 because it's a little unclear exactly how that process occurred, because we didn't hear any questionings from the jury, or we didn't hear any questioning in open court. So it's a little unclear exactly how that process happened. But however it happened, it happened. We now have a jury of 18. Of course, 12 of those will ultimately go on to decide the case. 6 alternates, which is typical for a huge case. The Alex Murdaugh murder trial has gripped Low Country, South Carolina, and the southeast region of the United States. Alex Murdaugh and his family are extremely well known in Low Country, South Carolina, the greater Charleston area, basically the lower southeast quarter of the state. His father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather have all been the lead district attorney in this region for about the last 100 years. He himself, acclaimed attorney in his own right, who was apparently stealing money from his clients to the tune of about $10 million. And it seems that things were becoming unraveled in his scheme, that he was becoming exposed. And as some result of that, he may have murdered his wife and son. We're only on trial right now for the murders, the wife and son. 106 other counts are currently pending, and I think 16 other separate indictments, which means 16 other separate trials, unless for some reason they would be consolidated, because usually that's how they work, right? One indictment means one trial. So he's on trial right now and currently pending 16 other trials for monetary fraud, banking fraud, wire fraud, honest services fraud, malfeasance, and basically all those things. While South Carolina is a death penalty state, this is not a death penalty case. The state elected not to charge the death penalty. This may be because they have some lack of confidence in their own case in some senses. They do not have the murder weapon, or at least they don't have at least one of them. And the evidence against this is circumstantial. And we return our attention to now joint seal and clock watch. We no longer have to choose between the two. We've got both, baby. It's both seal and clock. Seal and clock. And now we have to debate which is better between seal and clock. I am enthralled with these new increased visual options. And of course, because we've done jury selection, we will actually, be able to see stuff. So we will see things. We will presumably see the opening arguments. We'll see the attorneys. We'll see the judge. We'll see the witnesses. We'll see all the things. And then we will begin to assess. And the opening statements, of course, if they're done properly, and I have no reason to believe that they won't be, will help us understand the theory of the case and some of the evidence that will be presented in the case. So we should at least, if they're done well, have some idea of the relative strength of the parties' positions at the end of opening arguments. Of course, that's no guarantee. We've seen plenty of cases in the past where one attorney or the other does not do well in opening or in closing or in direct examination or in cross-examination or in motions practice or whatever. But in this particular case, we have seen actions from both sides' attorneys in the preliminaries that leads me to the hopeful, optimistic idea that we will get a competent trial from both sides' attorney. Both sides will be competent at the same time. Amazing. And also the judge seems to be quite good. So like everyone is competent all at once. This is a strange and unclear land to Uncivil, but this is where we're at. So we'll see if that actually comes to be manifest in the actual hearing of the case. For those 263 of you who are here, if I could be so kind as to direct your attention to the pinned comment. The pinned comment has changed, by the way. So you may have retweeted the pinned comment earlier, but due to a correction, I created a new tweet. So if you'd be so kind as to just check the pinned comment and make sure that you have retweeted the latest and greatest version of the tweet with all the corrections, which now includes thumbnail, which also helps a lot. Also, incidentally, I have changed from if then that to Zapier for future things. So hopefully we will get thumbnails in the future, because people should bask in the glory of the thumbnails. And also it helps. So all that good stuff. So we are here to hear all the trials, hear all the things. We also heard yesterday a preliminary hearing from a forensic expert who deals with firearm markings on ammunition, spent ammunition, and apparently also unspent ammunition, if we understood his testimony correctly. But this case deals with spent ammunition, so we'll stick to that. So they have ammunition from the shooting range, because this guy has a huge property, hunting lodge. So they were able to recover spent rounds from the property or from his private shooting range, and also spent rounds from the murder. And we heard a lot from this forensic examiner yesterday about the markings that are created on the casing as a result of this, from the ejector, from the firing pin, and whatever. And he at least testified in a preliminary sense to determine if he was going to be allowed to testify. So he testified for the purpose of being allowed to determine if he was going to be allowed to testify. And the answer was yes. So in a preliminary sense, he said, well, yes, I can determine that these are from the same firearm, even though incidentally, I don't have the firearm. I don't have the firearm. It has been lost somewhere, right? But I have these spent rounds that match from the shooting range, from his private shooting range, and from him. And now we have seal and chandelier. Well, this is truly a wonderful event. Will we get chandelier and clock in this rotating spectacle of glory? I don't know. But now we have moved on from no, it's back to clock. So we are never going to lose. We are never going to lose Seal. Seal is the Rick Ashley of this trial. The Seal will never give us up, never let us down, never turn around and desert us. It is Seal all the way. But with occasional appearances by guest appearances by clock and chandelier. Anyways, going back to the trial, we heard from this guy yesterday in a tentative sense that he said that he can determine that these spent rounds come from the same gun and that they're unique. And at least in the preliminaries, I found this testimony a little bit difficult to believe. But then again, we are expecting more when he eventually testifies. And for those of you who missed it, don't worry. You get to hear everything that was said again. And for those of you who heard it already, don't worry. You get to hear it all again, right? Because the jury has to hear it and they haven't heard any of it. So we get to hear all of it again, plus hopefully some more, maybe some diagrams. Some visual images would not go out of place, so that we can say, yes, I can actually determine that these two spent rounds came from the same gun, the exact same gun, even if it's a mass-produced gun, so in the same lot. So even if these guns are consecutive serial numbers, produced one after another in the same batch, I can tell the difference in the spent rounds that come from them. Okay, well, all right. I hope you're going to have more evidence on that point, because I'm a little bit incredulous. We heard also yesterday from Detective Seeds, who has done investigations on this, who says this can be done. So like, okay, well, but I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more on this issue, because it's something outside my knowledge of expertise. I have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to the bullet traveling down the bore and the markings that are left there, but I'm not so much when it comes to the ejector and firing pins in terms of uniqueness, but we will get into all that. So, yeah. The expert didn't sound convincing. Yeah, well, it might get better. We don't know. I'm just leaving open for the possibility it will get better, right? And so we will see. I think the state, a lot of this is going to come down to the degree, and we also heard from Ian yesterday, who talked about that yesterday. We talked about the issue with Ian as well. But a lot of this, I think, is going to the state come down to the degree to which they're able to bring in motive, which is where you get into this wonderful dance between prior bad acts and motive, right? You can't bring in prior bad acts, but you can bring in evidence of motive, and then having to determine the difference between the two. So a lot of this is going to get down, I think, to the judge's individual temperament, on how he draws the line between these two things and his view of whether the motive evidence is substantially more prejudicial than probative, even if relevant. And the state, in a creative legal exercise I had never seen before, ever, tried to do a motion in limine in order to bring in evidence. This is a new one. Motion in limines are meant to are to exclude evidence. In limine, it's the word that limit comes from. Limit comes from the word limine. Right? Oh no, we've lost clock. It's just seal. It's just seal. We've lost clock. Yeah, the word limit comes from limine, and a motion in limine is to limit. And he was like, I'd like to bring in evidence using a motion in limine. And the judge went, lol, I'm not deciding that issue. Go away. So we're not sure the degree to which the state will be able to bring in that evidence, so we can look forward to all kinds of things that are happening. Also, for just a little bit behind the scenes action, I sent out basically a message to many of my fellow LawTube adjacent friends, basically saying that I am covering the trial and I don't want to send out like invite links every day because that's kind of weird. But just letting them know that if they want to join, just to send me a message and I'll be happy to send them links. So I send messages to some of them to let them know that they are invited, and we will see if any of them elect to drop by as things happen. And I want to thank all the people who were kind enough to send out the retweet, 28 retweets of the message so far from Twitter. Thank you very much for the 28 of you. Did I say Runkle's at the courthouse? James from Court's in the courthouse. We heard from Runkle yesterday. Runkle's not there. James from Court is there. So I'm not sure if I spoke improperly, but I'll correct that if I spoke improperly. So yes, we are just waiting for opening arguments to start. And they should begin any moment now, I would think. So thank you everyone for joining us. By the way, thank you for all the people who have kindly retweeted. 31 of you have now retweeted that message. Thank you very much. It does help to bring attention to the channel and make sure the channel can grow. We like growth over here on the channel. It is good stuff. Nice seal, but I'd like more chandelier. I don't know, man. Tracy, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. So that is all the things we're talking about. The Alex Murdaugh situation has been obviously a huge issue in Low Country, South Carolina. It's been the talk of the town, the talk of this county. I imagine if he's convicted, there will be an appeal on venue because the entire county has something like 38,000 people in it. This town has got something like 5,000 people in it, if that. It's a small town. It's a small county. We sent out 900 jury invites to a county of 38,000 people. So once you exclude all the people that are below 18, it's like, who didn't get a subpoena will be a shorter list. All right. So, but we apparently were able to get a jury. We apparently were able to get a jury of 18 together. But this has been a huge part of and of course, this is just a John Grisham novel come to life. That's what this case is. This is a John Grisham novel come to life because this is Southern aristocratic in sort of every sense. You got this family, entrenched, Southern, Charleston, aristocratic, genteel. Everyone knows everyone. The clerk especially seems to know everyone personally. The clerk of court seems to know everyone personally because they're like, oh, yes, I've been to that shop. Oh, yes, I know where that is. Yes, I know where Snakebite Road is because, of course, she does. She seems to know everyone personally because that's the kind of county we're in. We're in a very sort of genteel. Also, jury selection was like the most casual jury selection I've ever seen in my life. It was like, is this a dating bar or a jury selection or whatever? It was a little unclear. The local Waffle House is probably having a watch party. That's a very sharp comment in chat. Yes, for sure. But this has been all the talk around the water cooler of the county for some time. It's such a small county, it only has one. So when I say the water cooler, there is no ambiguity, because one water cooler is probably near the one stoplight in this one horse town. So yeah, it has been all the talk and all the rage for quite some time. So it'll be really interesting to see how the case is presented and how things are going. And the clerk was also getting business cards for some combination of the court itself and also personally, it seemed, because there was that great moment where the clerk was asking people's jobs, and one of them was like, I'm an electrician. And she's like, oh, give us a business card because we might need your work. And everyone laughed. And then the clerk said, I'm not actually kidding. We really need the business card. And then everyone left. And then she also asked for the business card, I think, of a trainer and possibly someone else. What is the name of this town? Walterboro. This is Walterboro, South Carolina, is where this trial is at. In Culver County, Walterboro County. This is Walterboro. This is basically halfway between Charleston and Columbia. Columbia is in the middle of the state. Charleston is in the southeast corner of the state. So this is roughly in the middle of those two, give or take. So that's roughly where it's located. And we also were commenting on Seal and dissecting its glory. With the palmetto tree, the X, by the way, is apparently, according to the official lore of the Seal, the X is actually wooden planks of oak that represent broken battleships from Britain in some battle sometime. So apparently this palmetto tree is flexing the broken wooden planks of some English oak that it destroyed one time in some battle somewhere, whatever. So that's what's going on in all those stuff. Yeah. Also, this is an interesting venue because apparently it is a bit of a carnival. I will show you some images if I can find it. We'll do even better than that. I'm going to borrow this guy's YouTube. I'm just going to borrow this guy's YouTube because he's doing coverage of the food truck situation at the courthouse. Okay, this courthouse is so small, it doesn't have its own cafeteria. And there are like no cafeterias nearby because, again, the town has like 5,000 people. So we are just going to do a very brief review of this guy's channel who is here to show us the food truck situation at the courthouse. Please show us the food truck situation at the courthouse. This is John Lee Rich Investigates. Food trucks at Alex Murdaugh trial, Colton County Courthouse, Walterboro, South Carolina. Let's go.
Jonathan Lee Rich investigates food trucks. Food trucks outside the courthouse where Alex Murdaugh faces trial for murdering his wife and son. And there is food trucks. This is going to be a big trial here in Walterboro, South Carolina, and the food trucks are lined up for journalists, trial seekers, and people that want to view the trial of Alex. It's going to be a big case here. It's called the trial of the century for South Carolina. This is big, folks. You got food trucks out here. They're out here. Food trucks.
Shorty's smoking. Tracy's elephant ears, also known as funnel cakes, by the way, if you're not familiar with what an elephant ear is.
Just for the trial. For the trial. Expect to do a lot of business?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I hope you do.
Thank you.
I hope you do. Have you been getting a lot of business so far?
Today's been great.
Like what media outlets or just people?
Media, lawyers, and the public too.
You're going to be here for the next couple weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, God bless you. Thank you. Tracy's elephant ears.
Apparently that is Tracy, I'm guessing.
Food trucks.
Shorty's
See 'em,
smoking
food
barbecue
trucks, food trucks,
is there.
Food trucks, how are you? Can I ask you a question? How are you? You here for the trial specifically? That's why you're here?
No, sir. I'm here for the food trucks.
Food trucks.
Yeah.
Expect to make a lot of business. Yeah, nice.
We got some sort
What's
of
your name?
chocolata.
It's Doug.
Doug, nice to meet you. My
Anna
name's
E.
Jonathan.
Chocolata.
Yeah.
What media you with?
I'm with Original Media Group, so I'm covering the trial here, and I see all these food trucks,
Oh, yeah.
and I figure, hey, it's a way to make business, make money.
Right. Where's people at? It's food.
Hungry.
They're
People are
They
hungry.
make money.
Maybe the jurors will come out and eat something too.
Yes, sir. That's why they're down here.
God bless you.
Where you come from?
I come from Florida.
Florida? You
Yeah.
all the way from Florida?
I come from Florida. I'm covering the trial, just seeing what's going on outside.
Yes, sir.
You know, expect to do a lot of business. I hope you guys do.
Yes, sir.
Be here, what, for the next couple weeks?
Yeah. It's gonna be rough. Somebody's gonna be happy because somebody's gonna make a whole lot of money.
You're going to make a lot of money.
I ain't got no food truck. I'm just out here trying to eat off one of these food trucks.
God bless you. Thank you.
There's one over there too.
Oh, which one is
I
that?
don't know if there's a Ferris wheel.
Oh,
I
at the
haven't heard
gas
rumors
station?
of
Okay,
Ferris
thank
wheel.
you.
Shorties
So he's
smoking
trying to eat,
butts.
but yeah, the courthouse is right over here. Show you the courthouse. And what this building is right there, that's like the overflow for the media. The media overflow, because the courthouse here
Oh, there's plenty
is
of
going to be
space.
packed.
Oh man, I could go
It's gonna
down
be
there. I
packed.
could get some.
Jury
I can definitely
selection
get
right
some
now, most likely in a jury will
cornhole
be
going on
impaneled
down there. Look how much space there is for
in a few
activities.
days, and then the trial starts. So I'll spin it around. You can see the food trucks are out here. It's at the end of the day, first day of jury deliberations. I am out here. Subscribe to my channel, like, hit the notification button. I want to let you know if you are in the area and you want to check the trial out, you want to seek it, and be a curiosity seeker, or just a person that's interested in true crime, come out here. You got plenty of food at the food truck, so your belly will be full. There's nothing better than a full belly watching a court case, right? Everyone be safe. God bless. Justice for the victims and their families.
And also justice for the food trucks, because that is key. Yeah, I'm tempted to go down there. We could do different food truck reviews every day. I could become a review bra. Food truck review from Uncivil Law. Apparently there are no alpacas yet, but you know, it's early, who knows? But that is the food truck situation down there. So, yeah. So if we can get enough money together to fund this project, then I might go down there in person. So if you'd like to donate, just a reminder that YouTube does take 30%. If you'd like to donate, here's a link that takes less. I don't think you have to sign up. If you have if you're paying via PayPal, you do have to sign up if you're paid by credit card, but I don't think you do if you have PayPal. So if you could, if you'd like to donate to the fund, and if we get enough funds together, maybe I'll go down there in person and check it out. How much do I need realistically? Probably like $3,000 by the time I'm done, because I need to, because if I'm going to be out there all day in the sun, I really need some sort of tent so that I don't burn to death. Which I don't have. I need some sort of like portable power thing to keep my laptop and equipment running, which I don't have. I need to travel there, which is an expense. I need to find some sort of hotel, preferably not literally the cheapest that's available. So about $3,000, I think, is probably roughly, you know, what I would need to do make it done, I would think. PayPal, it's if you want to donate directly with PayPal, although you won't get acknowledgement on stream, but if you would like to donate directly with PayPal, it's paypal.me/uncivillaw. If you would like to get acknowledgement on stream, then the Streamlabs link that I just sent in the description will hopefully get you acknowledgement on stream. Thank you, Kathleen, $25 for your kind super chat, which hopefully will pop up on screen if I set up everything properly. There may be brats. We just may not have seen brats. So yeah. Yeah, there's the acknowledgement on stream. Fantastic for that. Great. 5K is more realistic. Plus check and see if there's hotels. Yeah, depending on, factors and stuff like that. Yeah. How far is it from here? Far. It's a 2 days drive easily. It's a hike. It's a hike. I drive because that way I can save the money on the rental car. Like I don't need that expense. Plus, I can't really take the stuff I would need if I'm flying. I don't really think. Not with my current setup. So I suppose I just drive down there and go from there. Rebecca just tipped $10. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Rebecca. See if I can get some sponsorship from one of those solar generating companies you can get camping. If you want to help me send out some inquiries, I wouldn't mind. We can do it. Can I borrow a camper? No, and even if I could, I wouldn't because I have never driven one before and I wouldn't feel comfortable with that setup. How far is it from my... Let's find out how far this place is from my house. It is 18 hours. It's a long hike. 1,200 miles. So that's 2 9-hour days of driving. Sleep in my car, that would be very uncomfortable for that length of time. Done 17 hours straight before with my sister. Oof. Yeah. So I think $3,000 is realistically the least we would need to make this work.
What I will say now is intended to serve as an introduction to this trial. These remarks are not a charge on the law. I will instruct you on the law in greater detail at the end of the trial before you retire to consider your verdict. But this is an explanation of the procedure that we will follow in this trial so that you may better understand what's happening. The defendant is charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime.
Thank you very much from Sandra McButton
which will be explained
for your
to you
PayPal
later.
donation. I'll try to see them as they come in and acknowledge them, but no guarantees, but I'll try.
He's presumed to be not guilty of these charges. He cannot be found guilty unless the state presents evidence which convinces you, the jury, of his guilt.
How many, what devices would I need? I need to power a laptop.
The charge is simply the documents
my phone, which I will use to tether for the cellular connection.
Your purpose as jurors will be to decide the facts of this case.
That should be sufficient since I would be
and
outside.
Out of all
I don't
the
need
people
lighting.
who were summoned to come here for jury duty, out of all the people who live here in Colleton County, out of all the people who live here in the state of South Carolina or any place else,
only
the 12 of
splitting
you
a
who
place
will
with somebody
can
is for
decide
that length of time. I'm not really comfortable with.
Of this case.
To be honest, I'm not comfortable
We'll determine
splitting
the facts of
housing
this case
with somebody
from
for
the
that length of time. I don't know.
Which will come from
That just
this
feels like a
witness
recipe for
stand,
disaster.
together with any exhibits which is made a part of the record or any stipulations entered into by counsel. It is especially important that you perform your duty diligently and
I don't.
conscientiously
I appreciate
and
the
in
idea of using
conformity
someone's
with the
guest
oath
room,
that you took,
but I don't really want to
because
do that
ordinarily
because
there
I
is
need
no
the
way to
flexibility to
correct
come and
an
go when I
erroneous
want.
determination
You know, I
of
don't want to
facts
run into
by a
problems by
jury.
using someone's guest room. I
Just
don't want to
as
run
only
into
you
problems
can
where, like,
determine the
'cause I'm gonna,
facts
I don't know.
of this
I might have to
case,
leave early. I might have to
as
come
the
back late. I might
presiding
have to leave
judge,
at random
I am the
times.
judge
and,
of the law.
I don't want to run into
You
issues by
must
splitting
accept
something. It's
as
just for that length
correct
of time. It's too
the
much of
law
faff.
as I stated to you, then deliberate and decide. I cannot tell you what the facts are. You cannot disagree with me as to what the law is, and even if you disagree, you must follow the law as I stated to you. You take the facts as you find them to be, the laws I give it to you, you deliberate, and you decide.
There are some
the case.
hotels in the area. I'm not sure what the
Until I
hotel
tell
situation
you
is.
that it's time to
but
do
I-
so, you
I'll make it
cannot
work.
discuss the case with anyone, including your fellow jurors. You cannot discuss the case with family, friends, or anyone else. The attorneys in the case, you cannot discuss it with them or any
Maybe a nice
parties
hotel would sponsor
or
me.
anyone
Why?
else,
Why would they sponsor me?
that might be connected with the case.
You think
Should you discover
the
that a
Holiday Inn
fellow
of Walterboro
juror is
wants to give me a room for
violating
3 weeks?
that oath and that order, you are to bring that to my attention. It's also it's vital that you do not seek information outside of the courtroom during the case. That means that you're not to search internet
Are they sequestered?
websites,
No.
watch television reports, news reports, any other form of social media.
My
accounts
email
of the
is
case.
in the video
Because you
description.
are
My email is on the
sworn
link
to,
tree. It also
decide
is
this
just Kurt
case
at
based on the facts as you
uncivillawllc.com.
determine them to be,
But my email is listed in the video
based on
description.
evidence
It's listed on the
presented in
link
the
tree.
case, as well as the
It's
law
listed on my
as I
About
give
Contact
it to
page.
you. Now, later in the process, I will appoint one of you to serve as the foreperson of the jury. And
The judge
that
is appointing
person will
somebody?
have the responsibility of
Is it foreperson?
serving as the spokesperson for the jury. That person will have the responsibility of presiding over the jury deliberations, and that person will have the responsibility of completing the verdict form representing the unanimous verdict of the jury. In just a
$800
moment,
was
the
more than I was
Attorney
looking.
General
I was
will make
looking.
an opening
I was looking on
statement
Amazon for
in
this one
which
by
he will
Kelly.
explain
Is the name of the company? I was looking at this one that was like
issues
$300, and even that, to be honest, is a
he
little bit
sees
outside
it,
my
or
budget.
as the Attorney General sees it.
But that was the one that I was
Following
looking at
that,
because I was like, well, I
the
might be
defense
able to afford
counsel
that.
will have that same opportunity. Then we'll begin with the presentation of testimony from witnesses.
Airbnb, The Blessing.
I look forward to
For
working
$57
with you
a
on
night?
this case.
I have to tell you what, my
Keep
friend.
the case moving
I
as
am not particularly inclined to stay at an
reasonable
Airbnb
as
that
we
goes
can
by the
keep it
nickname
moving,
The Blessing.
but we will not rush.
I'm looking for a John Grisham
but
experience,
take the
not
time
Stephen
necessary
King.
to have this case fully presented to you. We'll now proceed to opening statements by the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. On the evening of June 7th, 2021, at the defendant's property off Moselle Road in Colleton County, his son Paul Murdaugh was standing in a small feed room and some kennels they had on the property. About 8:50 p.m., and the defendant over there, Alex Murdaugh, took a 12-shade shotgun and shot him in the shoulder, in the chest and the shoulder with buckshot. And the evidence is going to show it was a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. He could have survived that, but after that, another shot went up under his head and did catastrophic damage.
This guy likes the movement. This guy likes to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it.
The evidence is going to show that Paul collapsed right outside that feed room. And just moments later, he picked up a .300 Blackout, which is a type of ammunition, but an AR-style rifle. And the evidence is going to show that the family had multiple weapons throughout the property. Picked up that .300 Blackout rifle and opened fire on his wife, Maggie just feet away near some sheds that used to be a hangar. Pow, pow. 2 shots, abdomen in the leg, and took her down. And after that, there were additional shots, including 2 shots to the head that, again, did catastrophic damage and killed her instantly. The evidence is going to show that neither Paul nor Maggie had any defensive wounds.
This is reminiscent of the
had
prosecutor's
any defensive
opening argument from My Cousin Vinny.
They
Am I the only
didn't
one?
see a threat coming from their attacker.
Like his gestures, movements,
The
tonality,
evidence is also
it has
gonna
the
show
My
that
Cousin
both
Vinny thing
Maggie
going on
and
to it.
Paul were
I'm
shot
loving
at
it.
extremely close range. The evidence is going to show it's called stippling. It's almost like a tattoo, that when you get shot very close to a weapon, it leaves
And they
marks
sped
that
off from the sack of studs in
pathologists
great
can
haste.
see. They were shot at close range and they did not have defensive wounds. And the evidence is going to show that the defendant, Alex Murdaugh over there, told anyone who would listen that he was never at those kennels. But the evidence is also going to show from these things that every one of us, most of us carry around in our pocket, that he was there. And he was there just minutes before, with Maggie and Paul, just minutes before their cell phones go silent forever and ever.
I like it. I like this opening.
Despite what he
Good
told me
pacing.
while never at the
Good
kennels,
pacing, good word
cell phones
choice.
are gonna show up.
I like the vocal variety. I like the use of props. He's painting a
Ladies
picture.
and gentlemen, my name is Craig Waters. I'm with the Attorney General's office, and I'll be the lead prosecutor. I introduced myself.
Does like a
before.
cold open before introducing
With me
himself.
is
Nice.
David Fernandez,
This is
Savannah
really good. I
Dowd,
like
John
this. This is
Metters,
very solid.
Don Zelinka, John Conrad, and Johnny James. A lot of lawyers. This is a big case. It's a very complicated case, and that's why there's so many people working on it. Sitting back in the row, we have David Owen, who's the lead investigator. We have Lieutenant Charles Gent, who's one of the agents, Special Agent Ryan Kelly, and Special Agent Peter Rudolphy. Some of the agents that are working on the case, as well as Investigator Isaac Toledo, who's working on the case as well. There's some of the witnesses that you'll hear from as we go through this case. The judge talked to you a little bit about him being the judge of the law. And he gives you the law. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the legal concepts before I turn back to those facts. Just remember, though, he's the judge of the law. So you take what he says, but I'm going to explain to you some of the legal issues from my perspective before we talk a little bit more about the evidence in the case. And the first thing is right before you went to lunch, y'all all took an oath. Everybody in this courtroom who's got involvement in this case takes an oath. You know, attorneys take an oath to become an attorney, take another oath to become a prosecutor, judge takes another oath to become a judge, witnesses take oath on the stands, law enforcement take oaths to become law enforcement, but y'all took an oath as well. And the reason why is that y'all have the most important job in this courtroom.
I love the y'all also
Every one of you
on a
raised
personal
your hand
level.
and said,
I love hearing
"We'll all
y'all.
truly
It
try
kicks
this
ass.
case." And it's the most important job here because, like the judge said, he's the judge of the law, but y'all are the judge of the facts. Y'all are going to listen to what comes from that witness stand and judge those facts. But you also have to be mindful of that oath. That oath requires you to do that hard job, to make that decision, to call the strike when you see it. It's the same oath. It's just as important as any other oath. This might be the most important in this courtroom. The judge mentioned reasonable doubt, and he's exactly right. It's the state's burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a cornerstone of our country. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a burden we welcome. It's what we want. It's a system that has been well tested and true, and we take that burden to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I want to remind everyone that the emphasis is on reasonable. Okay? It's not any doubt. It is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is often defined, and again, you listen to the judge how he defines it, but reasonable doubt is a doubt that would cause a reasonable person to hesitate to act. To hesitate to act. And when you hear the evidence coming from this stand about this particular case, I submit to you, you won't hesitate to act.
Okay.
Remember, the emphasis is on reasonable and reasonable doubt.
This is a little strange for an opening to be a little bit on. I mean, maybe there's a reason that he's priming it,
Four of them.
so I won't criticize it too
indictment.
much. It's just a little odd. that he's already getting into the reasonable thing because it telegraphs a little bit of weakness.
Maggie Murdaugh.
It telegraphs, to my mind, that he thinks his case is a little weak. He's expecting there to be a lot of doubt.
Paul Murdaugh.
So it's a little strange, but that's what it telegraphs. But maybe he thinks he needs to do it to lower expectations a little bit and to prime it. But I'll take note of it.
And the last one accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, and that being the murder of Paul Murdaugh. And what does that mean? What is murder? Well, the judge again is going to instruct you, but it's the unlawful killing of another with malice and forethought.
He's going into legal focus.
Malice is
That's a little strange for an opening,
ultimately going to be
because opening is about selling the narrative of the story, and he's basically making technical arguments, not story arguments. A little strange for opening.
Intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse. It is the intent to inflict an injury under circumstances that the law would presume an evil intent. An evil intent. And when you look at the circumstances of the crime, when you look at what led up to this crime, the evidence is going to show that there was malice aforethought. Aforethought, what does that mean? It means it has to exist that the moment you...
I really hope at some point in the near future he's going to get off the legal preview and get a little bit more into the factual preview about what the evidence will show and what the witness will say. I mean, we had some of that, but we need more. So I hope this is a diversion, and I hope we're going to get off of it fairly soon.
It existed for a while in the mind of Alex Murdaugh. You're also going to hear about circumstantial evidence. And a lot of times people hear, oh, it's just a circumstantial case. But the law says otherwise. The law says that circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. And what's the difference between the two? Direct evidence is supposedly about to storm out here, from what I'm told. Direct evidence is if it's sunny outside and a witness goes outside and it's sunny and they come in here and they get on that witness stand and because they saw it raining, they sit on the stand and said, I was just outside and I saw it raining. I saw it raining. That's direct evidence. They actually saw it raining. But to give you an example of what circumstantial evidence is if the witness goes into a room where all the curtains are drawn, and when they go into that room, it's sunny outside and everything's dry. And while they're in that room, they see it darken behind the shades. They hear thunder. They hear the wind blowing. They hear...
Can I turn up the court? Yes, I can. If you need more, sure.
And then they open up the door, and it's not raining.
Thanks for letting me know. I can't hear the respective volume levels in my ears, so thanks for letting me know. There's a volume problem. I want to get the volumes right.
All over the ground. And then they come in here and say, yeah, it was raining. Didn't actually see it raining. But those circumstances are beyond any reasonable doubt.
Even more than this?
Now, I guess it's possible that somebody could have been standing outside their window and beating a drum to sound like thunder and somehow got enough water to coat the entire neighborhood. But that's not reasonable. Everybody understand that distinction?
I'll turn down my own volume a little bit too.
Another thing, and this is crucial, what you're going to do in this particular case is determine credibility or the believability of witnesses. So it'll be your job to look at the evidence, the exhibits in the case, but also the witnesses and decide if it's truthful, if you believe it, if you can rely on it. And the judge is going to instruct you that you can believe one witness against many or many witnesses against one. You can believe all the witnesses' testimony or part of the witness' testimony. It's up to you. First individually, and then as a product of your deliberations. And what you're required to do there is just to rely on that good old-fashioned common sense. Does it all fit together? Is it corroborated? Does it fit with what you would expect? Does it fit with what you expect how real people would act? Does it seem real? Does something seem a little off? Does something seem a little off? You're going to see video statements of Alex Murdaugh. You're going to see body-worn camera of him at the scene when law enforcement arrives. And hear what he says.
Okay.
And Hear what he says about that night.
I am getting the
You're gonna
impression
hear
that this is a
3
very
recorded
circumstantial
statements on
case.
video that he gave with law enforcement, and you're going to hear how things progress about what he says.
This does feel a little
When-
bit more
when
like
he
a
says he did
closing
that
than an
night.
opening, doesn't it? Yeah.
Watch those closely.
The courtroom has plenty of open seats.
his
Yes, it does. You're right. It surely does.
Listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's not
A
saying.
little bit surprised, but that's what the
Use that
situation
common
is.
sense. Does this seem right? Or does something seem wrong?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I mentioned that Maggie.
I like his
was
pacing.
killed
I like
with
his
a
use of the
300
space. I like his
blackout
animation.
rifle, an AR style rifle.
I like his vocal
chambered with
variety.
300 blackout ammunition. And you're going to hear
Now he's
evidence.
going back to the
that
evidence.
Back in Christmas of 2016, Alex Murdaugh over there bought 2 300 blackout.
All right,
AR
so now we're
style
getting
rifles.
back into the evidentiary picture.
And then not long after
That was a lot of diversion, but let's see
one
where
of
we
them
go
went
from
missing
here.
from Paul's truck. And time went by, and in April of 2018, Alex Murdaugh replaced that rifle and bought another one. 3 total blackout rifles that they had. One of them went missing years ago, and a replacement was bought. You're going to hear evidence that Paul and his friend were using that replacement gun. They were standing right outside the side door to the gun room of the house, and they were sighting it in, firing down into a field. And the cases were ejecting. The cases are the empty shell from a bullet, and they were ejecting out into the flower bed right there. And then there's a range across the street, and they shot it there, and there's cases ejected there as well.
It's a funny comment, Joseph.
And they were shooting that third replacement gun just weeks prior to the murders, prior to June 7th, 2021, when Maggie and Paul were murdered. And you're going to hear forensic evidence that the cases that were found in that flower bed and the cases that were found across the street at that range were ejected out of the same weapon that fired all the cases that were around Maggie's dead body, that killed her. It was a family weapon that killed Maggie Murdaugh. And you're going to hear evidence that of those 3 blackouts that Alex Murdaugh purchased, when law enforcement arrives at the scene on June 7th, 2021, he can only account for one of them. He can only account for one of them. And that replacement gun is nowhere to be found. You're also going to hear evidence that the type of ammunition, the exact brand, the exact model of ammunition that was used to kill Maggie, S&B, 300 blackout ammunition, and 147 grain bullets, that exact ammunition, boxes, empty boxes of that ammunition, is found all over the property. The very same brand and model of ammunition that was used to kill her is found at multiple locations throughout the property.
Okay. That's not
We're also
bad.
going to hear evidence, the same thing about the shotgun shells that killed Paul. That federal double-aught buckshot unfired rounds were found on the property, as well as Winchester #2 turkey loads. The 2 rounds in the shotgun that killed Paul.
Okay, that's not bad circumstantial evidence.
Family weapon, same ammunition. It's on the property.
Okay.
You're also going to hear evidence that about a week after the murders, Mr. Alex Murdaugh's father had died, Mr. Randolph. And about a week after the murders, he shows up early in the morning at his parents' home, where his mother still is in late-stage Alzheimer's, on Alameda in Hampton. It's uncharacteristic for him to show up early, uncharacteristic for him to show up at all like that. And he comes in, and he's carrying something in a blue tarp, and he takes it upstairs. And eventually law enforcement finds out about that. And they go upstairs, and they find a wadded up, very, very large raincoat in a blue color. Could look like a tarp. And you're going to hear evidence that it was coated with gunshot residue on the inside.
I don't know what that means exactly. I'm not sure why that's like supposed to be significant that there's gunshot residue on the
You're going
inside
to hear other evidence
of the
of
clothing.
gunshot
But,
residue.
okay.
You're going to hear that there was gunshot residue on Alec at the scene. You're going to hear the evidence that there was gunshot residue on the seatbelt of the car he was driving. You're going to hear evidence that when law enforcement got to the scene, he had gone and gotten a shotgun, Paul's shotgun, and that Maggie's DNA was on that shotgun. You're going to hear other evidence from DNA, gunshot residue, firearms examiners. There's going to be a lot of forensic evidence in this case. And I'm not going to get into every single bit of it right now, but I will say that a key piece of forensic evidence that you're going to hear in this case is the cell phone evidence.
Okay.
Alex's cell phone, Maggie's cell phone, Paul's cell phone. You know, this is all amazing technology that most of us carry around in our pockets. It really allows us to do a lot of things and to get a lot done. But this cell phone keeps track of who we're talking to, who we're calling, who we're texting, whenever we access apps.
So we're calling.
Every time you do that, there's a record kept in this phone unless it's deleted somehow. And if you're using certain apps, you can even get GPS information where you were when you did that that's stored on these phones. You're going to hear evidence about that. You're going to hear evidence that when you make a call and it pings off of cell towers, that location information can be gathered from that as well. And so it allows an investigation to take this
He was wearing the raincoat,
and piece together.
but I mean,
What
presumably he wears the
someone was
raincoat
doing
a
on a
lot. I
particular
mean,
day. And not
he
only
shoots a
what they
lot.
were doing,
I mean, he has his own
who
damn
they were
shooting range.
interacting
So
with,
I mean,
how
the fact
they
that there's
interacted.
gunpowder found on the raincoat or the inside of the raincoat doesn't really strike me as particularly odd.
You're going to hear
I don't know. Wait a
that
minute.
particularly Alec and Paul, but also Maggie, were prolific cell phone users, to the point where Paul's friends even had a nickname for him about his cell phone usage. Before I talk more about that,
Do you want to tell us what the nickname
there's
is?
3
Or are you holding that
family
up for later?
properties I need to talk about.
Is that for the big reveal?
The first one I've mentioned is Moselle. Moselle in Colleton County. It's called Moselle. It's off of Moselle Road, but everybody refers to it as Moselle. And that property is
I wouldn't be in the
large,
courtroom
it's
proper
a lot
list.
of acres.
No. I'd be
There's
streaming
a
from the
main
courthouse
house on
lawn.
it, and there's a driveway that goes to that main house.
That was my plan,
There used
Liz,
to be an
to stream
airstrip,
from the
and
courthouse
there's an
lawn.
airstrip that goes
So I need
down,
battery
and
that will
then
last all day.
Down the way, just less than a third of a mile away, just a 3-minute walk, 4-minute walk, 45-second drive, is the kennels and the shed that used to be a hangar where Paul and Maggie were murdered. So the main house is just less than a third of a mile away. You can see the kennels from the main house. You can see the main house from the kennels. The family also had a house in Edisto at the beach. And the evidence is going to show that that is where Maggie preferred to stay, particularly in the summer months. She liked the beach. She was not a hunter. She didn't want to be at Moselle. She didn't want to be at the lodge where it was hot.
Land is up for sale
She
for
liked
$3 million.
being in Edisto.
I told you guys earlier I needed $3 million.
There's also, I've already mentioned, the house in Alameda, which is where
Told you guys earlier I needed $3
his
million.
parents' home. On June 7th, 2021, you're going to hear evidence that his father went into the hospital and the prognosis
Do you want to do
was
a poll
not
for
good.
guilty versus not guilty?
And in fact, he died a few
Okay.
days later, and his mother was in late-stage Alzheimer's, and that house being cared
do a poll
for
and-
by a caretaker. You're going to hear from that
Do a
caretaker.
poll in the opening argument. How about that?
Mr. Waters. Yes, sir. We pause for a moment. We'll be at ease for just a moment.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Not sure why we're pausing, but okay. Let's do a quick poll. Is this opening working for you? See what you guys think. Can I create an Amazon wish list with things that I need? I guess I could do that too. So, yeah, of 75 votes, only half of you are saying yes. I'm surprised that only half of you are saying yes, to be honest. I think it's working out pretty well. And you're not sure? All right, let's try a different poll then. Let's try yes, no, meh. Let's try a different poll. Is this opening working for you? Question mark. Add option. Yes, no, meh. See what we got. The Mez are definitely doing some work here. 34% yes, 17% no, 48% meh. I'm liking the opening. I think it's going pretty well. My criticisms of the opening personally is I think it just spent too much time in this sort of like the legal issues and like really emphasizing it. I understand like why he's doing it, but it seemed like a little much, but maybe that's a nitpick. Is it time for sweet tea? I mean, is it tea time? This is strange. We're just taking a pause in the middle of opening argument for some reason, and everyone's just kind of standing around, mulling around. I'm not sure what we're doing now, but okay.
You may proceed.
Maybe the judge needed a pee. Maybe that's it. The judge needed a pee. Maybe it's a pee
We're
break.
talking about the three family properties. Moselle has the main house and the kennels / sheds. The main house has a driveway, but the kennels also have a driveway. And the evidence is going to show that
Let's see. Who's over here on the right? I'm not sure who that is. We've got two sheriffs, and if that's the jury, this would be the stupidest setup ever. I mean, it does look like a jury box, doesn't it? Like 12 by 12, but not all the seats are taken. So I'm guessing it's not jurors because, well, we got two sheriffs in there, but like, yeah, I guess I'm not sure where the jury is sitting in this room, to be honest.
and the evidence is going to show that she arrived about 8:15, and the evidence is going to show that from the cell phones that Paul was there at the house, at the main house. And Alex Murdaugh himself says that they ate dinner, and the autopsy is going to reflect both Paul and Maggie having similar stomach contents, indicating that they recently shared a meal together. About 8:30, about 15 minutes after they arrived, Paul's phone starts moving towards the kennels. You're going to hear evidence again that the defendant said he was never at those kennels, that he was napping after they ate, and he was at the main house and never went there. You're also going to hear evidence about how much Alec used his own cell phone, and it would be unusual for him to be anywhere without his cell phone. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, Paul recorded a video. He was down at the kennels because he had been talking to a friend of his, and you're going to hear from this friend because his friend's dog was in the kennels and they thought there was something wrong with the tail. And Paul was recording a video of it to send to his friend. 8:44 and 55 seconds. And on that video, and you'll see that video, and you'll hear from witnesses that identify Paul's voice, Maggie's voice, and Alex's voice. Told anyone who would listen he was never there. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, there's a video. The evidence will show that he was there. He was at the murder scene with the two victims. And more than that, just over 3 minutes later, 8:49 and 1 second, Paul's phone locks forever. He never reads another text. He never sends another text. He doesn't answer calls. 3 minutes after that video has the defendant at the murder scene with the two victims, Paul's phone goes silent forever. And in fact, another communication comes into the very friend that he was talking to the dog at 8:49 and 35 seconds, just 35 seconds later, and he doesn't answer it. He never answers another thing forever and ever. And on top of that, Maggie's phone locks at 8:49 and 31 seconds, around that same time, and she never answers another text, never sends another text, never makes another phone call, never receives another phone call. 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes after a video shows he's at the scene with the victims, and he told everybody he was never there. Never. Credibility, ladies and gentlemen. Credibility.
Okay.
So what happens after that? Well, you'll hear evidence that Alex's phone was conspicuously, he didn't have a lot of activity from about 8:09 p.m. until 9:02 p.m. And if he was at the kennels, which the evidence will show, why is his phone not with him? Why is it not showing activity? But you will hear that at 9:02, all of a sudden his phone does start to pick up activity. At 9:02, he calls, he starts moving. At 9:04, he calls Maggie's phone. Doesn't answer, of course. Doesn't answer. He calls his father, Randolph, who's in the hospital. Doesn't appear there's an answer there. He calls Maggie again at 9:06. Remember, he's just a third of a mile away. You can see it. At 9:06, she doesn't answer. At 9:06, he turns on his car, his Suburban, and he texts Maggie that he's going, be right back. I'm going to go check on Mom. And he doesn't drive down to the kennels, even though that's where the mailbox is. That's a common place.
Thank
to
you,
be.
nobody,
Even
for
though you can
looking
see it.
for
He's
power
called
banks
his
here. We
wife
did
2
some research
times
yesterday.
and texted her, and she hasn't responded.
We
Didn't just drive down
found
and
some
say, hey,
ones
I'm
that
heading,
look
you guys want to
promising.
go? What's up?
It's important, of course, to get one that doesn't
What's
completely
up?
suck ass, but
Right there. You
Yeah.
can see it.
so. But yeah, thank you for looking.
He then drives to Alameda, where his mom is suffering from Alzheimer's, and the caretaker is there. And he starts calling people. He's talking to people. It'll be up to you to decide whether or not he's trying to manufacture an alibi. He gets there to Alameda. You'll hear evidence about whether or not that was usual. You'll hear evidence about how he was acting when he got there. And he's only there for 20 minutes because he's back underway at 9:44. And he makes more phone calls on the way back. Calling friends, calling people who will answer. It'll be up to you to decide whether he's
I'll
trying
show
to create
you.
an alibi.
Blue Eddie was the one we were looking at yesterday.
He gets back to Moselle at 10:01.
268 watt hour.
Calls 911 at 10:06.
$300, but it's $80 off, so we can get it for $220.
Listen to that 911 call. Listen to what he says. Listen to what explanations he may offer. You're going to hear that 911 call, but you're also going to see
That was the one we sort of
the body-worn camera
landed on
of the
yesterday.
officers who arrived at the scene. The video camera they wear, so it records what they're doing.
try to send the link, see if this works.
And you're going to see what he did to Maggie and Paul. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it. It's what he
Was the one we landed on yesterday.
You're going to see.
Adam Trapp gifts 20 memberships. Thank you, Adam Trapp, for your gift memberships. We do appreciate everyone who helps the Uncivilians grow.
You're going to hear from a pathologist, a doctor who will examine the injuries. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it. on that 911 call and on the body-worn cameras.
EcoFlow
Pay
generates
attention to what
sponsored
he
channels.
says. Look at how he's acting.
Maybe I'll try to reach out to them.
He says
If they can
within
help
a
me
few
out.
minutes of each one of those, he says, this is about the boat case. This is about the boat case. And you're going to hear some of what was going on in Alex Murdaugh's life leading up to that day. Stuff that happened that very day, stuff that was leading up, a perfect storm that was gathering.
And then we'll need some sort of like
storms that are coming outside today.
pup tent, so I should probably start shopping for that too.
Listen for that evidence.
Need some sort.
Listen.
I don't know what you call it.
That gathering storm
you
that
call
all
it?
came
It's not
to
called
a head
what do you
on
call
June
it?
7th, 2021, the day the evidence will show he killed
They call it a
Maggie
tailgating.
and Paul.
And know what's
This has
properly
been a
called.
long, exhaustive investigation.
Canopy tent.
And it's going to be a fairly long trial.
Canopy tent.
Because it's complicated. It's a journey. There's a lot of aspects to this case. There's a lot of factors to this case. But like a lot of things that are
10 by 10.
complicated, when you start to put them all together, piece them together like a puzzle,
Looks like we can get one for like
all of a sudden,
140 bucks.
It's really simple. It's really simple. Once we get to the end of that journey, and you have a chance to deliberate,
Ooh, here's one.
the evidence is going to be such that you're going to
$62.
reach the
might
inescapable
work.
conclusion that Alec murdered Maggie and Paul, that he was the storm, that the storm was coming for them, and the storm arrived on June 7th, 2021, just like the storms that are heading here right now, that they died as a result. Beyond any.
So we can get like a pop-up canopy tent for like 100, 150 bucks. So we'll need one of those. Will I be allowed to park outside the courthouse? We're going to have to get some sort of media pass to make this work.
For the
But,
defense.
I mean, I assume yes.
Court, Your Honor.
All right, it was a good opening. I think we got a little lost in the legal stuff and the minutia. I understand why they did it. I think it was just a little bit much for what they were doing.
Ladies and
But
gentlemen,
I do
jury,
like the
my name is
recitation of
Disbarred
facts. It tells the story about what the evidentiary package is going to look like. So, solid opening. Good choice. Good stuff.
Attorneys, Jim Griffin, Philip Barber, Margaret
We need a
Fox.
heater? I hope not.
It is our honor to represent Alex Murdaugh.
Am I going to? I'm not camping near the courthouse. I'm not camping for. I'm going to find a hotel room somewhere.
I say it's our honor because I submit to you what you have heard from the Attorney General.
Would I have
that
added anything?
Facts
No, I would have
Are
removed a
not.
little bit. Would trimmed around the middle part
Are
where they're
not.
doing the law stuff. But otherwise, it was
his
fine.
theories, his conjecture. Now stand up. This is Alex Murdaugh. And Alex was the loving father of Paul and the loving husband of Maggie.
You can sit down. Tell him to sit down. Tell him to sit down.
You're not going to hear
Tell him
a
to sit down.
single
Tell him to sit down.
witness say that
Tell
their
him to sit down.
relationship, Maggie and
Don't forget to
Alex's
tell him to sit down. It's going to be really
relationship,
awkward if he keeps
anything
standing
other
there.
than loving. You're going to hear about how they went to a baseball game the weekend before. You're going to hear about their relationship. You're going to see texts and emails
Awkward count. Awkward count
indicating
in 5,
a loving
4,
relationship.
3. Now he just sits down because he wasn't told to sit down.
Paul,
He forgot.
the apple of his eye. You're going to see a video somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock the night of the murders with Paul and Alec riding around looking at some trees they planted. It's a
Alex
Snapchat
Murdaugh might be a better lawyer than his
Paul
lawyers.
sent to other people because the trees were not planted very well. They were cantilevering over. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That would be about an hour before the Attorney General says he swatted them. When I say he swatted them, when they were swatted, and no question, Paul Murdaugh
Let's do a new poll.
was shot twice with buckshot, 12-gauge buckshot, once in the chest. And by the way, that shot would indicate it was in the chest and came out under his arm, like somebody that might have been holding up their hands. So when he says no defensive wounds, he perhaps was being held at shotgun. I mean, I can make the same sort of speculation that the Attorney General can, because that's all he's doing is speculating. What we do know is 12 gauge, fairly close range shot to the chest. He must have been turned because it comes out under his arm.
All right, let's do an opening.
Wadding,
and
if
see what
you're
you guys
familiar with
think.
the shotgun, under his arm. The second shot ended up, and there's going to be some question about the direction of that shot, but ended up entering his skull cavity, and the gases from that shot literally exploded his head like a watermelon hit with a sledgehammer. All that was left was the front of his face. Everything else was gone. His brain exploded out of his head, hit the ceiling in the shed, and dropped to his feet.
Very graphic.
Horrendous.
Defense opening.
Horrible. Butchering.
I mean, that's the point.
So, to find Alex Murdaugh guilty of murdering his son, you're going to have to accept that within an hour of having a extraordinarily bonding, you can see it in the Snapchat, that he executes him in a brutal fashion. Not believable.
Okay.
Not believable.
I don't know, there's got to be a better
Now,
way to do that. Than
Maggie
the way you did that.
is shot running. There's no defensive wounds because she's shot running, and after she falls to the ground and has one bullet that has hit her and probably traveled up and hit her brain, she's on the ground, and whoever the perpetrator was walked up, took that AR, and put one in the back of her head. Executed. Executed. Why? This is going to be interesting because we don't know why. He doesn't know why. He's got theories of this and theories of that. But why? Number one. Number two, what was it in that hour between when he's yucking it up with Paul? And let me say this to you. His record, he was interviewed. He comes home and finds, there's no question about this, they've got telemetry from his car. He left the house at 9:06, returns at 10:01 after seeing his mother who has dementia. Now remember, that day, his father, who is dying, is taken to the hospital. Mom's home alone with the housekeeper. Perfectly reasonable for him to want to go see her. And later than usual, because his father's not there. He's in the hospital. He dies 2 days later. His father dies 2 days later. So the question is, if he leaves at 9:06 and he's back at 10:01, he literally, I mean, and he can account, the cars and the cell phone records account for where he was between 9:06 and 10:01. Now the cell phone records, and you're going to hear this from their own experts, are incomplete. They're incomplete. And we're to submit, one of the reasons they're incomplete, and by the way, how do they find Maggie's phone? Maggie's phone was thrown out on the side of the road about a quarter of a mile away from, a little bit more, maybe a half a mile, from the Moselle property, thrown out on the side of the road. They found it by using Find My iPhone. And the way they did that, they had to open it or have access. Who gave them the code to open the phone? Now, Murdaugh. And it's not destroyed, it's just thrown on the side of the phone. What you're also going to see is that Alex Murdaugh was calling that phone at 9:06. As he leaves the house, he did call her twice and texted her. And we also know that at 9:06, as he cranks his car, as the cell phone records show that, as the telemetry data shows the cell phone linking up with the car, that phone is being thrown on the side of the road almost a half a mile away. Now that is Houdini. That is magic. That is inexplicable. Now, I was making notes.
What is going on right now?
While the Attorney General was talking. But let me tell you what is more believable. The night he comes home and finds his wife and son butchered. And when I say butchered, you're going to see these photographs. When I see them now, after having seen them for the last 4 or 5 months, it still shocks me. It still is tough to look at. It still bothers me. And he comes home and finds his son laying in his own blood with his brain laying at his feet, shot to hell. He walks over, he checks to see
This
if
is the best opening they could write.
there's any life there, although, I mean, he's seeing his brain laying outside his body. He knows there's nothing there. He goes over and tries to get a pulse out of Maggie. No pulse there. Calls 911. I want you to hear that 911 tape. It is a man hysterical, in grief, trying to figure out what's going on. And he tells the 911 operator that he's concerned, and he drives back up to the house. And by the way, you can't see, I've been out there, you can't see the shed where you might see the top of the shed. There are pine trees between the front porch or the porch on the house and the dog pens. And it's not a third of a mile, maybe by the way the crow flies, but it takes a little bit longer to drive down there. And this is not unusual.
Maybe he's trying
for
to
them
desensitize him, I guess, maybe.
By cell phone or text, even when they're all on the same property. It's 1,100 acres. Big property. They hunted it. So, what I'm trying to say to you is that the Attorney General has given you his view. And again, you can't see the shed. And I'm going to ask the judge at some point during this trial to ask you, the jury, to be able to go to the scene so you can see it. You can understand the proportions. You can understand the details.
Field trip.
Because the facts are what matter here. The facts. Let me give you another fact. You're going to hear their witnesses explain the catastrophic injuries to Paul. That his head literally exploded. And whoever shot him with that shotgun was probably no more than 3 feet away. Maybe closer, maybe a little further away. His head exploded. You would be covered in blood from head to foot. Head to foot. In blood. They seized his clothes that night. SLED did. And they well, first of all, you're going to see in the videos from the officers that arrived that night, there's no blood on him. They didn't find any blood on him. SLED's testing indicated 12 different places on his shirt and pants. No human blood detected. Period. Okay? You'll see pictures. White t-shirt, no blood on it.
Okay, he's
Those
getting
are
better.
Facts. Those aren't theories.
Getting better.
Those are facts. Another fact that is, I think, the reason we're here today. When you hear those questions on the videotapes on the night, now he's found his wife and son brutally butchered. You can hear on the 911 tape, he is hysterical. He comes in and out. It's consistent. If any of you have ever, you got to use your experience as part of this deliberation process. Your human experience. If you've ever suffered the catastrophic loss of a friend or a family member, it's numbing. The minute you find out, or if you see them dead, it's numbing. You go into shock. So anything he said that night is in the context of just an hour or two before finding his wife and son butchered. He drove back up to the house while he was on 911 saying, I got to get a gun. Whoever did this might be out there.
Can I stream on Rumble at the same time?
About that is,
I suppose I could. I don't really know how to set it up. I never streamed on Rumble before, but I'm already streaming on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube. But I suppose I could add Rumble to the next.
12 gauge, grabbed a 12 gauge shotgun, put a 12 gauge buckshot in, and then he put a 16 gauge buckshot in. That's how shook up he was. Guy hunted all his life, and he put a shell in that he couldn't fire a 16 gauge from a 12 gauge. Makes no sense. He was traumatized. GSR, their own expert at SLED said the amount of particles of GSR are consistent with him going up and picking that shotgun up. They want to talk about GSR? Again, if you fired a shotgun twice and a rifle 6 times, you'd be covered in GSR. Those are the facts. That's not his theory. The facts. Now let's talk a little bit about these ARs. Again, you're going to hear testimony. A lot of guns. They had a gun room. You know, I don't live in Carlton County. I live in downtown Columbia. Ain't no gun rooms in downtown Columbia. But apparently if you live on 1,100 acres and you hunt deer and you hunt whatever they were planting those sunflowers for, quail, I guess, big hunting, you have a lot of guns. The truth is, in 2017, and you'll hear the testimony, that Alec bought 2 Blackouts, one for Paul and one for Buster, his other son who's sitting out in the audience. And Paul had his stolen. He bought another one for Paul. Now, Paul was very irresponsible with guns, cars. He'd leave guns around. He'd leave guns in cars. He oftentimes left guns down at the dog pens, in the feed room. Now, I can't tell you whether he was shot with his own weapon or not, or his mom was shot with his weapon or not. But I can tell you that they weren't shot by Alex. They don't have the guns. There's no way to tell conclusively without having the weapons what weapons those were fired by, and we'll be talking a little bit with the SWAT experts about that. The sort of overarching issue here is why murder on June 7th, 2021, why is it September of 2022 before they charge him? And I will tell you what happened that night, and this is a problem. He's questioned, and the questioning is pretty aggressive. You'll hear it. He's traumatized. They suspect him. They show up, he's got a shotgun. They suspect him. And the next morning, 2 people found butchered, and here in Carlton County, Moselle Road. The police announced, don't worry.
Well, let's do a
There's no
poll
danger
on
to
the.
y'all.
Let's do a
There's
poll on
nobody
what
out
we
there
think of the
that could pose
defense's,
a danger to
defense's
you.
argument.
Because you see, they decided that night he did it. Without forensics, without cell phones, without any of that. And they've been pounding that square peg in the round hole for the last, well, since June of 2021, resulting in charges in September of 22. And so, if he felt, and he did, and you'll hear it, the accusatory fashion he's being interviewed in,
up now.
he may not have dealt all the facts. But by the way, whether he'd been down to the dog pens that night or not, really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Because you're going to see cell phone activity that would be...
You guys gave the prosecution a rating
Paul
of 7 to
phone,
8 at
850.
54%, by the way.
Maggie's phone, later than that, 854, clearly, is still being used. At 9:06, he's up at the house, getting in the car, cranking it up to drive over and see his mom. He says a few hundred yards away, it's a little bit further than that. But the point of the matter is, he would have had to have executed both of them, got back up to the house, got the bloody clothes off, and by the way, they seized his clothes from that night. They've never searched his house for any other clothes that we know of, although that night he gave permission and they got a search warrant. Go to my house. Go look through everything. Where are the bloody clothes? Where are the bloody clothes? And of course, I would tell you that they've woven this story together because they want everything to be consistent. What's important about that is the judge, and by the way, there's no eyewitness. There's no forensics tying him to the murder. When I say forensics, fingerprints, blood, whatever, tying him to shooting anybody that night. The cell phone records would indicate he would have had less than 10 minutes to kill him, get up to the house, get in the car and crank it up. He'd be covered in blood. Now, if they think he was beginning to establish an alibi, there's no evidence of that. The evidence is consistent with him seeing them earlier at the dog pen. And by the way, that audio they have of him and Maggie, they're talking about one of the dogs killing a chicken.
Dogs killing a chicken, baby.
Or a chicken. No
We're talking about dogs killing chickens,
very
baby.
normal discussion.
Which apparently is a normal
very
discussion in
happy.
this household.
And we know that Paul, after that, is texting back and forth with the girl about going to the movies. Nobody's down there threatening him. Daddy's not pulling out a shotgun and killing him. For, 10 minutes after that, he's texting this girl. So, big question. One shooter or two? Two guns, shotgun and an AR. And by the way, Maggie has no defensive wounds because she's running. What's she running from? And could you shoot? Typically she had a little shed right, probably 150 feet from the feed room on the other side of a wall. Perhaps she heard the shotgun blast and came around and saw somebody or two people, and whoever it was opened up. Was there enough time to kill Paul and then find the AR and then ambush Maggie? Much more likely there were two people, but again, we don't have to prove anything. Let me sort of share the framework in which you should examine this. You have agreed to follow the law, and here's the law. Here is the law. He didn't do it. He is presumed
my dog
innocent.
Killed a chicken.
As you sit there right now, when you look at him, you have to believe he is innocent. He didn't do it. Now, let me tell you, that's so difficult to do. I get it. And the way maybe the best way to explain it is this. This morning or yesterday, nobody really reads newspapers anymore, but if you were reading the newspaper, looking at the internet, and you read the police had arrested somebody for some heinous crime, the natural inclination of everybody, all of y'all, is to say, thank God they caught him or her. Thank God that person is in custody. And you did something that's so natural. We all do it. You presumed the police had arrested the person that committed the crime. You presumed him or her guilty. That is the natural thing to do. And you know what? That's fine for you to do. Any other day except today. Because you took an oath to follow the law. And the law is, he is innocent. He's presumed innocent. That is your presumption. Your mental framework is, he didn't do it. They've got to prove it to me beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, what's even more difficult, and this isn't a contest, this isn't a game, this isn't who wins and who loses. This is about justice. Oliver Wendell Holmes, one of the justices of the Supreme Court, once said, jury duty is the highest duty a citizen can perform for their country in peacetime. Because you are protecting us from them, from the state, from the government. That's the foundation of our Constitution, is that the individual has the right to be presumed innocent, has the right to a jury trial, has a right to have his or her peers sit in judgment of it. That's you. And the framework is you presume him innocent, and you cannot convict him until the state proves to you beyond a reasonable doubt of his guilt. And a reasonable doubt is the kind of doubt which would cause an ordinary person to hesitate to act in the more important decisions in their life. Now, what makes this even more complicated is there's no direct evidence. There's no eyewitness. There's no camera, there's no fingerprints, there's no forensics tying him to the crime. None. None. I say that without any fear of contradiction whatsoever. None. And what the judge is going to tell you is, to the extent the state relies on circumstantial evidence, the circumstances must be consistent with each other, and when taken together, point conclusively to the guilt of the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. If these circumstances merely portray the defendant's behavior as suspicious, the proof is fake.
KFC?
Now, this smoke they've created is about suspicion. I mean, if you show up at the scene and you got the wife, the wife especially dead, and the guy's got a shotgun, you know, it's pretty logical for the cops to jump to a conclusion. He did it. And the problem is that as they came to that conclusion, they have pounded that square peg in the round hole, and you're going to hear about it. They've ignored some witnesses. I mean, for instance, that blue tarp showed up with a blue tarp.
What's happening?
That witness who said he showed up with a blue tarp
I think I've stopped paying attention.
was shown a blue rain jacket that he talked about. Said, that's not it. That's not what he brought here that morning. I mean, I've talked to her. She says, no. It was a blue tarp. And what was it?
Objection. I'm justifying, Your Honor. Objection sustained.
I would indicate.
Objection sustained. You may proceed.
I would tell you that the testimony you're going to hear is inconsistent with the Attorney General's represented to you, based on interviews done by people other than me. So, what I'm telling you is this. That as you sit here and
Bojangles
listen-
is located in Houston. There aren't any Bojangles in Austin, but they're located in Houston. I got to move to Houston.
Every time there's a witness that takes that witness stand that the state's put up there, you see, you judge the credibility, whether to believe a witness or not believe a witness, whether to believe one witness against many, many against one. You're going to have to evaluate the testimony you hear from this witness stand with a critical eye. Critical eye. I mean, if you've got uncontested scientific evidence, you accept it. I've got no problem with that. These cell phone records he keeps talking about, I would say to you, are not necessarily accurate to the extent they're reliable. I will also tell you that there's going to be a bunch of people, and I will that have been promised something or threatened with something that may take the witness stand and say something. But I tell you what they're not going to say. They're not going to say they saw him kill him. They're not going to say that they were involved in it. They're not going to say anything that would give you a comfort level.
I need the wrap it up music is what I need right about now.
Now, all of you have indicated that you will follow the law. And I say this one last time. He didn't do it. He didn't butcher his son and wife. And you need to put from your mind any suggestion that he did. You've been picked because you said you could be fair. You were picked because you said you could follow the law. You were picked because Alex Murdaugh believes that you can be fair. Now, if during this process over the next however long we're here,
Well,
I say something or do something, which most certainly based on my career, I will do, that irritates you or angers you. Sometimes I'm a little rough. Don't hold that against Alec. Hold it against me.
I'm just a simple country
If I
boy.
say something that offends you in some way, don't hold that against Alec. Hold it against me. Remember, as you sit there right now, in your mind, he didn't do it. He is innocent. He would require a verdict of not guilty from you.
I like
That's
chicken.
the law. That's your oath. Thank you.
Okay, let's create a poll. So you guys can vote on which opening you like
Ladies
better.
and gentlemen, I'm going to send you to the jury for room for a break while I discuss scheduling with everyone. Please do not discuss the case. As I mentioned to you earlier, you're not allowed to discuss the case at all until you've heard the entire case and you've heard the instructions of law. So please go to the jury room.
Yeah, let's take a poll on which one you like better between the state and the defense. Well, that was interesting for sure. The defense is okay. So my critique for the state is more minor by comparison. I understand what the state is trying to do. I like the way that they opened. I like their okay. Let's talk about what the state did well, in my view. The state did well in sort of their tone. They did well with physicality. They did well with the vocal variety. They did well with the space. They did well in that sort of cold open before they said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is blank. Right? They sort of did well in that phase. That phase
For
also
scheduling,
was
do you have a witness you want to call today?
kind of nicely paced.
Your Honor, I think as we have
Now we're discussing
talked to
scheduling.
the
We'll
law
get back to
firm, we
the
do have
opening
a
in a second.
witness. Unfortunately, that witness, the main point of that witness would be the body-worn camera, as he is a first responder that arrived at the scene. Unfortunately, the audio does not appear to be working, so I'm informed, despite efforts of courtroom staff and even our IT folks to try to get it going. I've been also told that the company that installed this for the court is not here, and they've been able to do this. So, unfortunately, given the lateness of the hour, which I don't think we could finish him anyway, because the video in and of itself is fairly long.
9:30 tomorrow morning, and they still haven't done whatever you just said.
I will personally come up with a solution to present evidence to this jury, but I think, I don't even think we could really get him done today anyway if we started, because even the body worn itself is 20, 30 minutes long, depending on which exhibit we put in.
Yeah, and I think this is wise because even if we started right now, I don't think he could get the whole video played. And I'm going to ask, and I'll tell the Attorney General now, we're going to ask him to play the whole video for completeness rather than picking out little excerpts. So that may take 45 minutes.
Any objection to that?
We had prepared excerpts. There's a lot of discussion of law enforcement as they're arriving at the scene, and I have theories. But if he wants to play the whole thing, I'm fine with that.
Lol. Settles that.
Lol.
Okay. If you bring the jury, I'm going to excuse them to 9:30. If they're ready to come in.
Well, at least I know when the stream tomorrow is starting, so that means I can, because they're coming in at 9:30, which means I can schedule the stream. So I can schedule a stream while we're talking. All right, I'm going to try to see if I can do both these things at the same time. Can I create thumbnails and schedule a stream with all the things I need to do while talking to you guys? This will be fun and hilarious. All right, so I'm going to pick up where I left off in sort of my discussion. So I liked, after we got past the cold open, I liked his initial start of the presentation of evidence. It was very, very brief. And then for the state, we got into this sort of long interlude, which went on way too long.
2 minutes
Now, I
waiting
understand.
for the jury to get ready to come in.
Okay, we're back to clock. We're back to clock. We'll go off full screen because we have clock cam, and we cannot be denied clock cam. Will we get chandelier? I think we need a new poll. Will we get chandelier? Hold on. Okay, I need to end this stream. 69% of you, by the way, like the state overall. Let's start a new poll. Will chandelier, I can't spell, so help me out, show up? You guys can vote amongst yourselves about whether or not chandelier will pop up in the stream or not. Okay. Now, as I was saying, before I was so rudely interrupted by the judge, as I was saying, there was this long interlude where they were discussing the law and reasonable doubt and stuff. Now, I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because, well, they don't have the case that they would like, right? They don't have a direct witness. They don't have the gun. They don't have a confession. They don't have, like, his DNA on the scene, apparently, and his shirt is clean as shit. It's cleaner than my shirts, So it's like they don't have as much as they would like. So they have to sort of lower expectations a little. They have to talk about what reasonable and the reasonable doubt means. So I understand what they're trying to do. It just kind of went on too long. And I think it overly telegraphed that they have problems in their case. Like it just kind of went on and on and on. It's like you swore to tell the oath and you promised to do this and all that stuff. And what am I not listening to? Someone said Kurt doesn't listen. I'm too busy. I can't do so many things at the same time. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it just kind of went on too long. It overly telegraphed that they had a weak case. It overly telegraphed that they have problems in their case. Maybe the length was by design to some degree because they really wanted to like not let it overly go home. But to me, it was a bit of a problem. Fortunately, we did eventually get off that sort of somewhat long interlude and actually then got back into some evidence that the state thinks will help to make the case. You know, that that he was on the scene, even though he claims that he wasn't. So he was on the scene. He had opportunity. That he bought the right kind of gun, that we matched the ammo that was used compared to the ammo that was on the scene and his house. So we have that kind of suspicion. We have cell phone records that put him on the scene. We have some evidence that shows what's going on. Oh, I don't listen to the Sia song that has a song called Chandelier. Even if I did listen to it, I still wouldn't know how to spell it. Unless she spells the word chandelier in the song. In which case, well, I guess I don't. Any case, that was what the states did. Now, for my criticisms of the state, at least my problems were more in the delivery of the components than the components, right? They have this cold open, they introduce themselves, they have a little bit of evidence, then they go into this law thing to reduce expectations down and to properly sort of like reframe and sort of burn shift their argument a little bit, and they get into the facts. So like I understand what they're doing. You know, the components maybe were not great in all their aspects, but you know, at least it made sense. At least it made sense in what they're doing. Then defense lawyer gets up, and I don't know what's going on. The defense lawyer first of all, he asked Alex Murdaugh to stand, and it's awkward as shit because he never asked him to sit, and before Alex actually asked him to sit down, and it's like, wow, what was going on with that? What was going on with all that? You know, in terms of that issue and not having a good thing. And then his control space sucked. He was walking around the room with absolutely no purpose or direction. His use of, he had no physicality. He had no sort of, you know, thing. And then like the actual like storytelling was a jumbled mess. I don't really know what was going on there. It was just a jumbled, contrived mess that didn't really work. I mean, there were elements to the story that worked, like, you know, why did they have this lovey-dovey Snapchat, and like an hour later he commits this brutal murder? You know, if you buy the state's timeline, he would have had under 10 minutes to commit the murders and get back to his car, and there would have been blood everywhere and all the rest of it. Now we just have Seal, but still no Chandelier. We still have Seal, but no Chandelier. And it was discombobulated. And he brought in this graphic imagery, which I guess was meant to desensitize the jury. But I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Maybe there's not, but there's got to be a better way to do this than with all this graphic imagery about the blown up thing and all the rest of it and stuff like that. It just seemed like, it's like, do you really want to put all those images in the juror's head? I mean, maybe you do, and maybe there's no better way to do this, and maybe this is the best way to do it because it needs to be as graphic as possible to like take the bite out of it. but like I was like, okay, it seemed like a lot. It's like you're describing your client and describing the bloody murders and stuff like that. It's like I don't know what was going on with all that right now. So it was just a bit problematic in sort of my estimation of the comparative strengths and weaknesses of the thing. And apparently the defense wants to go on a field trip. The defense wants to go on a field trip. They want them to visit the scene, which, you know, might make a lot of sense, but there might be a field trip. I wonder if the media gets a field trip, and if so, yeah. Should I stream on Rumble tomorrow? Let's see if I can. How do I set up on Rumble? I've never streamed on Rumble before. So I have to set up a separate stream on Rumble, right? And then I have to figure out how to actually stream to Rumble from here. I've never actually done this before. Let's see if we're back to clock. We're back to clock. Clock is back. Guess who's back? Back again. Clock is back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Nah. So, yeah. So let me see how I do this. I'm not actually sure how to do this. We're clock watchers, and is there enough value in streaming to Rumble too? Like, do we really need another way to stream? If I say go live, select a placeholder video. This video will loop. I have to create a placeholder video to create a stream. I don't have a placeholder video. Lord, I can't do this right now. I can't do this. I can't do this because it's like I have to upload a placeholder video. I don't have a placeholder video. Let's see.
Please be seated.
You can bring the jury in.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen because we have no way to create a stream on Rumble because I don't have a thing to put on the loop.
18 people.
All right, let me see. Create new. All right, I need to create a new stream for tomorrow. All right, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, stream information, live stream. Yes, I want to stream tomorrow at 8:30. That's my time, Central Time, because they're starting at 9:30. So I want to stream at 8:30 a.m. Great. This will be called Alex Murdaugh, January 26 a.m. Do that. Create AM. Great. Change. All right. Now I need to copy the description over. Change that. Copy into that. Great. Now I need to upload the thumbnail for tomorrow.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are through for the day. We're going to recess till 9:30 tomorrow morning. Remember the oath that you took and the instructions that you're not to discuss the case with anyone. You're not to engage in any search for further details through any means. And we need you back at 9:30 tomorrow morning following the instructions given to you by the
26th. 26th a.m. 9:30, 8:30 Central. 26th, day 4. That's the right thumbnail. Schedule it.
Yeah. Make up. All right. We're in recess as to the jury. Go.
Let's do the jury. Any more? Okay, great. That stream is now created for tomorrow. So that's done. Great. Now I need to create a redirect to that stream. Well, first let me copy all the tags, because that doesn't do it automatically. You have to do that manually. So let me copy all the tags and post that into tomorrow's stream.
Just a couple of things with regard to
Copy the tags over.
daily transcript. Is that what is the problem? Is that system? Can someone tell me?
If that, great.
Is that it?
So I include all those tags.
Okay, well, this transcript is not an official transcript. It's not, the official court reporters are the two South Carolina judicial branch employees.
Okay,
and
great.
not
I need to create a redirect to the stream
company
for
that
tomorrow.
produces this transcript that those in the media or the parties may be interested in purchasing. Want the parties to acknowledge that they understand that any transcript produced by anyone other than the court reporters is not a verified true copy transcript.
Your Honor, we understand that. Absolutely. Both of us, though, have a concern that this microphone, and we've expressed, if it's picked up conversations between us and our client, or we're concerned that that not appear in the daily transcript.
All right, and the transcript, that microphone is by the same outfit? Whose microphone is it?
We're told when that clock in front of you is on, it's on, right?
Yes, that microphone, the microphone on the AG's table, the microphone in front of the clerk's bench, and the microphone you are speaking into that has the mute button, those are FTR, or the record microphones. That's what's giving you the daily transcripts. And it is also tied to the PA system.
So that, I don't really care about the daily transcripts. My problem is that we can't get audio in the courtroom, and that's what we're going to try to fix tonight.
Well, we're talking about one thing right now.
Yes, sir.
So with regard to the, for the record transcript, the non-official, and is that where the problem is now with that you all have been working on, or is that now been resolved with that company?
The problem with STR and the draft transcript, the daily transcripts, that is working fine. When we had to move some of the equipment around earlier, it messed up some of the wiring.
For the audio?
Yes, sir.
All right. And is that what you're working on, said you'll be working on overnight or something?
Yes, sir. We're going to come up with a solution that's independent of any of the court-provided facilities, and we'll come up with something. I'll go home and get a guitar amplifier if I need to. But yeah, we'll get something done.
Okay. We're going to get a
Is there
guitar
anything
amplifier.
else before we break
Okay.
for the day?
Say, Your Honor.
Nothing for the defense. 9:30. Am I correct about that?
9:30.
Yes, sir.
All right, court will be in recess till 9:30.
Okay. Well, that's the end of that stream for today. So that was exciting and fun. I scheduled the stream for tomorrow, and notification went out on Discord. That's good. But notification has not gone out on Twitter. That's bad. Always something, I swear. Maybe because let's see. Okay, take a look at this. Take a look at this. Why is settings, share, new channel, create tweet? What the hell's going on right now? History. No results found. Why are you not running? Are you not considered a new video because you're a live stream scheduled to happen? Is that the problem? If so, how do I fix that problem? Twitter. No, I don't want to create a link. Hold on. I gotta I got to figure out how to do this stuff in terms of, I'll share with you guys because why not? You guys can help me figure out how to make this work. All right, let's see how we can make this work. All right, so let's see. Create Zap. Create from YouTube. Event. New video and channel, new video and playlist is all my options. I already did new video and channel. So that's not working. Delete this. Move. Delete this. Move. Post video on Twitter. New video and channel. App, YouTube channel. That's the right channel. YouTube, new video and channel. Is it not considered a new video and channel because it's a scheduled video? Why can't it just work? I guess I have to create it by hand. I guess every time I just have to create it by hand. No, there it is. 26 a.m. Okay, it just tweeted 1 second ago. Okay. It was just late. Okay. So it did automatically post. Cool. It just took a second. All right. So if you guys could retweet this link for tomorrow, and I will also post it in the video for tomorrow as well. Go there, post that, open the video for tomorrow, open the chat for tomorrow. Retweet me, please. Okay, and then pin that comment. Great. All right, so that's set up for tomorrow. Fantastic. Okay, so all those things are set up. All those things are set up for tomorrow. So we got the stream. We got tomorrow. We got the thumbnail, 26 a.m. I think it looks pretty good. There's tomorrow's thumbnail. That looks pretty good. Alex Murdaugh murder trial, 26 a.m. YouTube link with the thumbnail in the thing. Plantation home, sunrise. Looks pretty good, I think. So, awesome. So I got all those things set up. Cool. Is Murdaugh in custody? I believe so, yes. Cool. All right, so we got all those things set up. And 500 of you or so here. And as always, I'll just say very briefly that if you have any ideas how to increase traffic or something to the channel and stuff like that, I'll be happy to take those. You can tweet at me or send me a note on Discord or something if you have ideas on how to gain stuff. I know you guys already said send out invites. I sent out a memo. I sent out a note to like 10 different people on LawTune basically saying, you know, I'm not going to send out daily invites because that's really, really weird. But if you want to have an invite, just send me a message and I'll be happy to send you one. So that's what I did this morning in terms of inviting people onto the channel. And beyond that, there's nothing more I can do. So we'll see how it goes. Richard Hogue has tweeted saying, I do love #ESO. Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. Is Richard Hogue tweeting on the regular now? He tweeted, Hi-Fi Rush looks fun. I think it's, and then someone else said, I don't tend to think, what if the licensing music gets removed in 10 years when buying a game? To which he apparently responds, I think it's a fair concern with difficulties publishers had with negotiating proper licenses. We need to expect more from them. Hopefully all the I's are dotted and T's crossed. Then he tweeted, I'm biased. My brother works at ZeniMax, but this is a really solid format. Love when developers go through their game. Apparently he's back on Twitter. Apparently someone gave him back his Twitter account and he is tweeting. So, okay. Could it be the algorithm with the word uncivil? I don't know. I mean, uncivil is not a word, really, so I doubt it. I doubt that's in the algorithm for anything. Okay. All right. So we have everything set up for the stream. Everything that's good. Everything's positive. We're doing good. Thank you, by the way, for all the people who sent me donations. I'll take a look at the donations at the end of the day and kind of see in terms of how we're doing. And if we get enough money together to go to South Carolina and do this from the courthouse steps, we may very well wind up doing that. Let's just see where we are today in super chats. At least I can tell immediately once I look at the back end of the thing. $25 in super chats today. There might have been revenue through other things, but $25 in super chats. So we have a long way to go to make this viable. So we'll see. Uncivil cameo on OnlyFans. Crash James's hotel room? I don't think so. I don't think so, man. Is there anything more before I sign up for the day? I guess not. I guess we're done for the day. All right. This stream should automatically redirect you to tomorrow's stream. I hope all is well, my friends. We'll keep trying to rock this. Keep trying to bring good legal analysis and commentary and all the rest of it. What? Anyways, I'll sign off for now. I hope all's well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.